All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich Celenza. Thanks for checking out my channel. So what I want to get into today is ties. Ties. It's a pretty cool looking tie. I usually don't like pink that often, but I just grabbed that on the way out of the house. But yeah, I was, not too long ago, I was helping somebody with some of their wardrobe. And what I realized more than anything is how people hang on to their ties for too long. And how it can actually, a tie can really help an outfit. There's no question. It can knock it out of the park sometimes. It also very easily can destroy it. And it can date it. And it just can turn everything into shit, honestly. And I just seen this not long ago. They had a great looking suit, nice shirt, even a nice pocket scarf. And when they started pulling out their ties, I was like, what happened here? Are we in the 80s or 90s? I'm kind of confused here. And when it comes to certain pieces, and I think, obviously there's a lot of sport coats and suits, you immediately know they're outdated or vintage. But I do think a lot of times if you can piece certain vintage pieces together with something modern, it can be really unique and great. I love vintage clothes. I travel all over the country, and I visit a lot of resale and consignment stores looking for vintage. And for the most part, I just like, I can't say smaller pieces, but sometimes I will love a leather coat from the 70s. But you got to be able to pull that shit off, okay? It could be the shirt you're wearing underneath it. It could be your pants, your boots, your dress shoes, whatever the case may be. They got to work together. You sometimes maybe dressing a certain way and just looking completely out of style. If that's your thing, that's cool in the gang. I don't care. But a lot of people, I think, want to kind of look hip, but add their own flavor and maybe add a little vintage into it, right? I mean, because I think a lot of things past, especially fashion-related, were awesome, where now I think they're weak. And that's, for instance, sport coats and suits. I like bigger lapels. Now, I'm not saying I like monster lapels, maybe like in the 70s, even though I do, actually. I love that big-ass lapel, a medium lapel. I can't stand these small lapels. They make me look like a child, especially with my weight and my size. It doesn't work. Same with ties, for instance. Back to that. I need either a very kind of wider tie or a mid tie, and I like the big bow. I like that kind of, I don't know if it's European, but I just like a big bow on there. Not a small little dinky bow. Again, my size, it doesn't work. I look like I'm in, what are those, kids' clothes. But back to the tie. Let's go back to that, okay? If you're somebody who's, younger, and this happens a lot, you probably don't even know how to tie a tie. I think it's time you learn at least how to tie a tie. I was born in the fashion garment industry, so I was kind of taught at a young age how to do a tie, but as time would go on, sometimes I'd forget. I ended up going to modeling school, and then they showed me how to do all these different ties, including a bow tie. So let me make myself clear regarding this. I'm talking about the long tie right now, not the bow tie, the longer style tie. And back to you, you should definitely learn how to tie a tie. All right, let's start with that, because I don't think a lot of young guys do, and if they do, they don't know how to do it correctly. So let's just try to learn how to do that. Now, also, a lot of younger people, and I keep going to younger people because that seems to be my age demographic, but regardless really what age you are, if you have ties that are 20, 30, 40, 50 years old that you got from your grandfather, your father, your uncle, whoever the hell it is, some you may be able to pull off. Some you just may look like, in my opinion, maybe like just completely outdated, and nothing's kind of weirder, in my opinion. You can dress any way you want when you see an 18 or a 22-year-old kid wearing a tie that looks like it was from, the 40s or something. I'm exaggerating, but like something from the 60s or 70s. You can immediately tell they're outdated. I don't know if you've ever even gone in a Goodwill store, and then they have ties there for $3.99, $2.99. Some may look cool, but a lot, you just look at them and go, holy shit, are these old? Don't get caught wearing that. I'm just telling you right now. Now, again, you can wear whatever you want to wear. I'm not saying you can't, but it may be time to invest in a cool-looking tie. I discuss this a lot. I try to help people look really fashionable affordably. That's really what I want to help people do. And take your money and spend it elsewhere. Make more money or spend it on dinner or other things, because a lot of times I discuss clothes are not worth the money. They are not worth the money, I promise you, especially if you're going to gain weight, lose weight. Trends, styles, what you may like now, you may like in the future, blah, blah, blah. But when it comes to a tie, again, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I think a lot of guys go in big box stores or go to boutiques, and you find these ties that are really, you look at them, you're like, what the frick? That's $80. That's $55. I ain't spending that on a tie. Or that's $120. You don't have to spend that much money. Back to resale or consignment, you can find them a lot cheaper. And you can go to other stores. I'll just say TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshall's, hypothetically, Burlington Coat Factory. They have a lot of affordable ties and pocket scarves and cufflinks. I discussed that on my previous video. A lot of times I don't like to mention brands, but in this case I'm going to. Go to those stores, man. I'm telling you, they're really affordable. You can get nice ties. The thing is, too, I wouldn't get caught up in sometimes getting so caught up in a trend where, again, maybe a very thin ties in style now, and then 2 years later it's out, whatever, or a certain type of fabric is in now, it may go out. I'm just not into that shit. I like a traditional, beautiful, unique tie. I like it in the middle, kind of like what I was just showing you here. And I also like a lot of solids. I do like some beautiful pieces that have some unique style to it. There's no question about that. But for the most part, I discuss a lot of times, I like things that are solid, and I know that is going to match a majority of my wardrobe. I don't want a tie. If you want to do it, you could. If you got money, you could buy whatever the hell you want to buy. But I don't want to buy a tie necessarily, one tie that only works with one of my sport coats, or one tie that only works with one of whatever I'm wearing. Again, you can do that. I want to wear a tie, for instance, that pink tie I'll just use, for instance. I can use that on almost every sport coat I have to a certain degree, even my white one, if I wanted to pull it off. So I like solids. Obviously, I like blacks. I like, silver or gray. I like that. I'm kind of in the pink a little bit. I like whites. I'm kind of, if you look at my website or anything, I'm kind of a black tie, kind of a fair look. I like black and whites, but solids again. Even if I get a shirt like this, it is striped. What is this one? Gray. But I always kind of incorporate gray, black, white in there, and then I put in my splashes of colors. I'm not a guy who's going to be overly eccentric with a lot of different colors. That's just my taste. And again, one of the reasons I don't get a lot of wacky patterns regarding anything is because I think it looks whack after a while. But back to the tie. You sometimes got to realize that one is, how much am I going to wear that tie? So how much am I going to spend on it? And also, what type of affairs am I going to with this tie, if that makes sense? I want to make sure what I'm wearing works, if that kind of makes sense. I don't want to wear something like, I see a lot of people wear things that just don't fit the occasion. Now, again, you can dress any way you want. But I think with a tie, in just my personal opinion, I want something that is very unique, that stands out, but not over the top, I guess you could say, if that makes sense. And I also wear pocket scarves. So when I'm buying my tie, I'm thinking about what pocket scarf also is that going to work with? And vice versa, what pocket scarves do I have that can match that tie? Because I discussed this a lot regarding wardrobe. When you're buying things, you have to make sure it works with everything you have. And I think a lot of people get caught up buying a certain specific piece, saying, oh my God, that tie's awesome. Look, it's got all this and that and that. And you get it, and then you get it home, and you start looking like, that doesn't really work that well. It doesn't match this. It doesn't go with that. You got to think from top to bottom when buying, certain types of pieces. And that's one of them, because a suit's a suit, right? But when it comes to little accessories, or an accessory in this, and it could be your shoes too. You want to buy shoes that work well with a lot of what you have, not shoes. And again, you can wear any shoe you want. You want to stand out or look whack or boot or whatever the case may be. But I personally think, you can buy things that work well with everything else. And that's what I'm always thinking about. And I think a lot about that with ties. But I'm not caught up with being trendy with the tie. But I definitely am not going to be wearing a tie that looks completely outdated that my great-grandfather should be wearing. Now, my father, for instance, he collects ties. He has, I think, at this point, hundreds of ties. He has layers and layers. I have a lot of ties. not even close to him. He's been saving his clothes. I'm not kidding. He may even have his father's ties, his brother's ties from the 40s, 50s, 60s. To go through that is great. But I did realize sometimes we swap clothes. I can't say he swaps my clothes. Mine are way too big. But sometimes I'll swap something from him. It could be a pocket scarf. It could be even a turtleneck sometimes I can put on or something. When it comes to his ties necessarily, see, he likes kind of wearing an old school tie, and that works for him. He's older. When I kind of put it on, it just doesn't work for me. So again, I'm just going to wrap it up with this. You may like wearing old school ties. You may like that vintage look or just that whole, period piece, and I get it. But I am going to tell you, though, I think sometimes you just really, really need to pay attention to that tie when you're going out, if you're going to a doing. Because a lot of times that tie, and people don't discuss it, can make or break your outfit. Okay, and a lot of people don't have the balls to say, hey, man, that tie's whack. That's way outdated. If you would have put this tie on it, this thing would have been mint. You would have looked great. Not saying you look bad, but I'm just saying there are things that you can maybe make look a lot better. And with the right tie, can be booming. Same with the right bow tie. Make sure it's not too big, all right? Make sure it's not too small. One thing I realized, me being bald, bow ties don't look good on me, or at least with my width or my body, and then I put a little bow tie on, either they're too small, and then I put the big ones on, and it looks like they're too big. So I think the last tie I had was like a Burberry style. And I said, let me try this. I had like a wool Merlot style coat, and I said, wow, with the Burberry, and I had a shirt, was it a white shirt, and it looked really beautiful. But I took photos the whole night, and that just... What happened with me, if you're bald, and I don't know if this, it just doesn't work with me. It's too little and it's too much face. At least when I kind of wear a full tie and I have a 5 o'clock shadow, it all flows together for me a lot better. So just something to think about, because you have a traditional tie and you can wear for a tuxedo, black, white, red, whatever the case may be, or you have, another style tie. Make sure it works. Just because someone says, hey, it's a black tie, and if you got to wear one because you're standing up at a wedding, you're like, hey, they're all wearing bow ties. You got to do it. But make sure the size, like I was saying earlier, it could be the width is too big, the pattern's outdated, or it's just there's so many different things that can make it look whack. That's what I'm trying to say. Make sure it works specifically for your body type and your head and your neck. Okay, because what may work for me as far as the tie goes may look horrible on you, and vice versa. That goes for the colors as well. All right, pay attention to that shit. All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you get a chance, you might want to check out my Mastering Self-Confidence program. That's really based around a lot of me helping men find the woman of their dreams, but I definitely get into a lot with hygiene, identity, fitness, wardrobe. It's a no-nonsense type of course. Also relationships. I get into many different things, being raised in the bar nightclub industry. Just what I've learned over the years when it came to meeting women. Also, I'm on I got a podcast, The Rich Celenza Show. I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You get a chance, subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments, just let me know, all right? I love helping people. And again, just budget yourself correctly when buying clothes, and you don't need a ton of a lot of things. And I know you've been maybe taught like, oh, you need 10 ties, or you need 20 ties, or you need this amount of ties. Yeah, you may if you want that. But in reality, in 2020 right now, how many affairs do you go to where you're wearing a tie? Think about, what am I going to really spend? Do I really only need 3 ties? And I don't want people to get sick of looking at you in the same tie either. But if you can only afford a few ties, because you know what? In a few years, you may get more. And again, I like just kind of giving clothes away, but you may want to swap with your buddies or say, hey, can I borrow this tie this time? Give it back. You may borrow one from you. You save 30, 40, 50 bucks, especially if you're going to a doing a lot of times. I'm going to really wrap it up with this. A lot of times guys will, if you're going with a date and they have a certain type of dress or you want to do it or whatever, you want to match, and I get it. But sometimes you don't, and you have something and, your ties are outdated or you don't have a tie. Maybe not go to your father or your grandfather or whoever. Go to somebody who has some more style or something unique. Borrow it for the day, right? Wear it. give it back, right? Or go somewhere where you could just find a really, affordably nice tie. Don't go over the top. Wear that tie once, and then you don't wear it for a couple of years. You go spend $80, $100 on a tie. What was it for? I'm just saying, things to think about. All right? All right, take care, and I wish you nothing but the best.